Costanzo is travelling slowly. Costanzo has fallen off the pace somewhat, I think. We see him on the straight about now, should come into the bottom of the picture there. And Alf seems to be losing position. We see that dice there, Bartlett Breidenbach.
No, I'm sorry, that was
That's
Walker.
Johnny Walker, in fact, coming through some lapped cars.
Yes, in second place.
He's worked his way past John Briggs, the South Australian John Briggs in the Matic, and coming up to another lapped car, but this is Brown signalling his pits that everything's A-OK, into fourth gear and sweeping through this corner at about 200 odd kilometres an hour, and Costanzo's race is very definitely just about to be finished, starting to smoke. Costanzo is now back in fifth place, but it's a worse fifth position as he's lapping slowly, and undoubtedly with that telltale smoke from the car, he's not going to be there for very long. So once again, it's a weekend of sad stories for the young Victorian who went so well at Sandown Park last weekend.
Sometimes known as Australia's Mario Andretti.
Yes, indeed. Very much an Italian in temperament and accent and so on, but resident in Victoria, much loved by the racing fraternity, very talented, has for years been doing things on very, very much of a shoestring budget, and I fear that he's just about to spend a fair deal more money after having broken a conrod last weekend. He is, however, still in front of Kevin Bartlett, who's in fifth place. McRae, who's now up to sixth. McRae has got past Breidenbach. Goss has got past Milton, and then there's Gary Cooper, and John David Briggs in fourth. So the race position is altering all the time. Warrick Brown in the lead has a lead of 4.87 seconds over Johnny Walker, and it would be about 3 seconds further back then to Vern Schumann. This is Kevin Bartlett in sixth. McRae now up into seventh place and having a real crack at Bartlett. That's Breidenbach, very nearly being brought undone by Peter Middleton. Middleton being lapped in 55, but finally gets out of the way, and Breidenbach knew that he mustn't slip back behind him, then he would have lost his momentum. So he stuck his nose in, and Middleton at the last moment got out of the way, but McRae having a real crack at Bartlett down the 1 odd kilometre straight at Adelaide International Raceway. This is a drag strip as well, as you see the Ampol finish signs there indicating the end of the 400-metre run down from the BP start line, which was the race start line. Off through the back and on to Shell Straight. Down now into the Uni Royal S's, and then we look at Brown. Coming round the back section of the circuit. There he is there, into the Uni Royal S's. Brown says the trick there is to get through flat chat in fourth gear.
Peter Middleton.
Looking there at Stephen Fraser, one of the cars that didn't run at Sandown last weekend. We see Chris Milton coming into the pits there. That's in car number 10. Milton was going remarkably well early on in the race. He was holding ninth place. A remarkably good position, I think you'd agree, John, for Chris Milton, who
yes,
tended to shine before.
I think he's indicating a flat tyre. They're working on the right-hand front tyre, and I think that may have gone flat. Milton came into the pit pointing down to it, and the mechanics are working furiously on that right-hand front tyre. This is bad luck for Chris because he was holding an extremely good position. And I think this will drop him, this stop here will drop him at least a lap. See how quickly they can go. Just knocking the hubcap off securely on.
And we look now at this dice of Kevin Bartlett being challenged so strongly by Graham McRae there. That's in the top of the picture, Bartlett in the dark car number 3. McRae in the light car with the perspex cover to it. You can actually look into the car and see his hands and feet working down into the S's now. That group of cars there, it is quite a battle going on, because we see then Brighton being strongly challenged by Goss, Gary Cooper in 12, the second of the Elfin team cars. And they come now onto the bowl. They're in 6th place, and Bartlett is 5.1 seconds in 6th place, 5.1 seconds behind Alfredo Costanzo. At the moment, Bartlett would be losing lap time through trying to hold out Graham McRae, and it would be to Costanzo's advantage. Although
yes.
Alf obviously has some trouble, but at the moment apparently not major trouble. Nevertheless, this dice with McRae and with Bartlett would be to Costanzo's advantage.
Yes, the problem with Costanzo, he is probably able to nurse his engine a little at this stage, with Bartlett not being able to get away from McRae. But the interesting thing is that Costanzo seems to have stopped smoking. It's either the problem has cured himself or he's run out of oil.
Into the pits goes Stephen Fraser, another retirement in number 30, but this dice between Bartlett and McRae is a beauty. There's Costanzo to
coming
the pits.
into the pits.
And it had to happen, unfortunately. Costanzo in 5th place was 5 seconds in front of Kevin Bartlett. Now into the pits, and all one can say for the situation is that he's avoided a major disaster at the moment. Let's see what happens. 5th place, there's his friend Giovanni Marino, man that's been with him for years, down to the back of the car to see what's causing it. Is it a major or is it a minor problem?
Head shaking, and I think that's the end. Yes, looks like it.
And Warrick Brown, though, running absolutely like clockwork up in the front of the field. Heads, Johnny Walker still. There he is, threading his way through some of the slower competitors. That's John David Briggs, the second of the Tropicana racing team entry, slower than his teammate Don Breitenbach. But nevertheless, a fairly hard charger, a man not with an enormous amount of experience in this class of car, or in fact in racing generally. Both of them 27 years old, Don Breitenbach and John David Briggs, and a very well put together team indeed. McRae looks as though he's made a break on Kevin Bartlett as we watch them come down now into the Uni Royal S's.
Yes.
This is the slender homemade product of Graham McRae. Now in front of Kevin Bartlett, he's made the break.
Yes,
McRae is
past.
up into 4th position thereby. With the retirement of Costanzo, McRae is in 4th place in 22, followed by Bartlett, then Don Breitenbach, John Goss, Gary Cooper. They're in race order there, and in fact it's not far behind them to the race leader, Warrick Brown, to give you an indication of how far he is in front of that battling group. Warrick Brown just behind them on the straight, that's the race leader. Bert Shupin still looking quite good in 3rd place in 11. 4th place is Bruce Allison in 62, falling away from Shupin. So 5th, let's get it right, 5th is Graham McRae in
yes.
22, Bartlett in 6th.
Then Breitenbach, then Goss. There's McRae with his plastic-sided body. You can see a lot of him in there.
Goss goes down inside. Oh my goodness, on the bowl there, a real thrust from Johnny Goss, trying to go down inside Goss, right back, and I don't think anybody's ever tried that before on the inside in the bowl, because they come in right down low,
yes.
in the middle of the bank section there, and Goss was slotting his car right inside Breitenbach. Poor old John Goss, he was full of tales of woe all last weekend and most of this weekend, but once he gets into the racing car, he really does have a go. Of course, an Australian Grand Prix winner in 1976, a Hardy Ferodo winner a few years earlier. A very talented man who, however, doesn't always get his act together. There he is now, John Goss and Breitenbach. Let's see what he can do again. They're on the reverse camber. It was just further on here that he actually tried to get past Breitenbach on the previous lap. He's quick through here, but he is quick. He's made a bit of ground on him. He'll try and come out of the corner quickly. Perhaps slipstream him, have a crack as they go up the back straight. They're in 4th gear. They're now picking up 5th, and Breitenbach trying to throw him off out of the airstream. There goes Goss. but a very tight entry to the corner for Goss. Sees him effectively slower through the corner. Breidenbach picked the right line, the wide entry, and was able to hang with it. That's Bartlett. We've seen McRae go away from this battling group, so it's Bartlett 6 now. Driving very well, a fabulous start from the rear of the grid. Breidenbach, Goss, Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper came second, of course, in Sandown, the slower of the two Ansett Team Elfin cars. But with Schuppen's retirement, finally finished second, a remarkably good effort for the designer of the Elfin racing cars. Bartlett, Breidenbach, Goss, and I believe in a moment in the pits we may be able to hear from Alfredo Costanzo. Well, I believe now that we've got Alfredo Costanzo in the pits to tell us what went wrong with car number 84.
Well, Alfredo, you had a bad run last week. What happened this time? I think there one or two rings must have broke inside the engine, you know, piston rings. And compression must go through the Can I hear there? Yes. How does this place you for the rest of the series? You must be down to about your last motor by now. Yeah, it was. It's nothing serious, really. Nothing serious. I think it's only broken rings. But we have to pull them out in bits and have a look what it is. Will you be running in the next race or not? I feel one. Will you be able to run in the next race or not? Yes, I think so. I think so. Thank you very much, Alfredo Costanzo.
On the 24th lap, Costanzo was in 5th position, dropped back then and retired at the completion of the 25th lap. The race now is in its 33rd lap, 32 laps having been completed by the race leader. Warrick Brown in 1, Johnny Walker in 2nd in 25, Bernd Schuppen 3rd in 11, as we see there. Then Bruce Allison, Graham McRae, Kevin Bartlett. A very interesting race, but at the moment, Warrick Brown doing everything right. There's John Goss, car number 2, one of 2 cars that he's got in the series. He plans at Surfers Paradise next weekend to be able to run his Ford engine car, but at the moment, this is a Repco Holden powered Matic, a locally built car, and John has had to revert to the normal 90-degree crank in that car. Last night the single plane crank gave trouble. They've gone back to a more conventional crankshaft, one with slightly less power and torque, but one that he hopes will be ultra reliable. And Goss running quite well in 7th, 8th place at the moment. And of course having this great thrash with the American Don Breidenbach. That's Breidenbach that Goss is chasing. And there's Goss. A very hard charger, made a tremendously auspicious debut to Formula 5000 racing cars when he came into it in about 1974. And still, despite the fact that he's not always ready when he should be, is a very hard charger, and so too is Kevin Bartlett up there in front of Breidenbach. And look at Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper really, John Price, is driving as well as we've ever seen him drive.
Right. I think he was fired with enthusiasm. And Goss is having a go at Breidenbach. He didn't quite make it again. Look, very close indeed. Trying to go on the inside. And Goss has gone to the inside of the track again. He's going to try and outbrake Breidenbach for the next corner. But I don't think he'll make it. No.
Fabulous racing at 280 kilometres an hour. Down on the brakes there into 4th gear, and the right-hander. They come down to about 190 kilometres an hour through there. Then for the second section of the corner, it's 3rd gear. They punch up out of there, and this is Goss, the man who's throwing out the tremendously strong challenge to Breidenbach, and would love then to move up to have a crack at Bartlett. Bartlett in 6th, Breidenbach 7th, Goss 8, Cooper 9, and behind them, looming up and really going to disturb the formation is the race leader, Warrick Brown. He's got to lap this group now, and this is difficult for Brown, but also could just that's the race leader. He's caught this group in 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th place and has now got to make his way past them. And will be very lucky if he can do so through the back section, so he'll be behind them for another lap. And that's the race leader locking up and very, very nearly skating off. He lost a lot of ground there. Tried to go down inside Gary Cooper and didn't pull it off.
It's a very difficult position here because these chaps are, these four in front of him are all lapping with extremely small gap, speed differential. And Brown will have to really work hard to get past them.
So
he's fallen well behind again. He's about 100 metres behind that group. There's the group of four. Goss moving up beside Breedenbach again, but I don't think he'll make it. No, Goss falls into the 3rd place again in that group. He's closed right up on Breedenbach, and let's see how they come, particularly as he comes onto the oval at the end of this little S-bit here. They'll come back onto the oval. That's Kevin Bartlett, Breedenbach, Goss, Gary Cooper, and now we've got Goss and Breedenbach in the middle there. Goss is getting fairly close. I think he might... No. I think Breedenbach is aware of Goss's presence and is not letting him in.
2.2 seconds cover that group of 5 cars from Bartlett back to Gary Cooper and then to the race leader, Warrick Brown. And this really is a most difficult moment for Brown because it's very hard to get past cars other than down the main straight. And as you say, John, this is the dice of the race.
Yes.
These drivers are quite intent on their own particular problems, and there's no way, quite frankly, that they can be much worried about the race leader.
That's right. I will say, of course, that they do give the race leader some consideration.
It might be a great deal at this stage.
But if they're battling hard together, well, it's devil take the hindmost.
He's well positioned now. He's fairly close to Cooper as they come onto the straight, and he just may be able to get some steam up the straight and to pull his way past. But then there are another group of cars that are being lapped for the 2nd time. So there's sort of cars in 3 different race situations.
Breedenbach has got past Bartlett.
So, and coming up now, and it's John Davison just in front, and not John Davison, John Briggs in front in 26. He's about to be lapped for at least the 2nd time. So, cars in 3 different race situations here, riding back past Bartlett, then Goss, and that's Schuppan.
And Walker is right up. Walker is right up to Brown.
Right, so Johnny Walker's come up to join the group. Brown has worked his way past Gary Cooper. We see him there. He then goes past John Briggs with the other car that he got past in the middle of the bowl. He was in the dark car, number 26. As you say, Johnny Walker's come up to join them. Still, Schuppan is in 3rd place, 40 laps completed. Schuppan in 3rd, Allison 4th. And then in 5th, this great scrap with Kevin Bartlett and, of course, Breedenbach now in front of him, and the suggestion that light rain may be starting to fall in a repeat of last weekend's situation at Sandown Park. And that's Breedenbach and Goss. Goss now past Bartlett as well. And Goss again trying to gnaw at the tail end of the Lola. An Australian-built car is John Goss's car, number 2. The blue Matic-built car coming up to that Peter Middleton, and he gets by because he's boxed in Breedenbach. But Breedenbach pulls out in a do-or-die, and Goss must be in front.
No, absolutely level. No, he's done it, I think, unless he's gone too fast for that corner at the end of the main straight.
So, Johnny Goss.
He's done it.
Johnny Goss in 2 now, comes up to 5th position. Well, great driving. That's Chris Featherstone, the English driver. He's been the disappointment of the series, quite frankly. Pretty slow in car number 20. into the pits. He was running tail end Charlie.
I think he's giving up also. Yes, they've gone round to look at... No, they're not even looking at the engine.
So, we've seen now with
the wisps of smoke coming from the engine, and I think that's the end for Chris Featherstone from England.
Calling in at the end of his 36th lap. He was some 5 laps down on the race leader when he went into the pits. And here we see in the middle of that group, well, we're looking at Goss initially. That's Goss in 2, followed by Breitenbach, whom he's just overtaken. Race leader Brown, then Bartlett and Gary Cooper. Brown has been working so hard at this problem of lapping everybody, and then on the tail end of the pair behind him is second-placed Johnny Walker. They come now onto the banking for the 43rd time in a 50-lap race. Don Breitenbach now with Warrick Brown about to go past him. About 2 seconds further back to second-placed Johnny Walker in 25.
Walker's pulling away, Brown is pulling away quite a bit from Breitenbach now. There was a case of Breitenbach saw Brown, moved over, let him through, and then hopped in behind him for a tow.
Well, also with the situation suddenly resolved between him and Goss, it was to Warrick Brown's advantage, quite frankly, but that situation did resolve itself because Breitenbach could then give him the clear track that he deserved and that he would have wanted.
And now it's Walker's turn to try and get through. He's right on Vern Schuppen's tail. Vern Schuppen has come up to second.
Vern Schuppen, yes, up into second position in front of Johnny Walker, so in the midst of all that battling, Schuppen has slipped past Johnny Walker, and we must get a gap then on first, back to second, Vern Schuppen. Keep a watch on it, just to see what's happening to it over the remaining laps of the race. 44 completed by the leading 4 cars of Warrick Brown in 1, Schuppen now in 11, Johnny Walker in 25, Bruce Allison in 62, are the first 4. We're looking there at Brown and Schuppen now in second position in car number 11. The gap back from first to second place is 2.31 seconds, so nothing in it at all, and this could be a charge from here to the end by the Australian International. Vern Schuppen, second last year at the Le Mans 24-hour race. The most talented driver, or most experienced driver by far in the field, but very talented as well, and very much the big professional. A car is blown up on the main straight, just past the pits, and may well have spread a little bit of oil, but only on a straight section of circuit. So Brown now, with pressure on him, 45 completed, 5 to go, and only 2.3 seconds in front of Schuppen there, going past Breitenbach, and he's doing it easily at the moment. This is the English-built Lola versus the Australian-built and designed Elfin. 2 expatriate Australian drivers. Breitenbach off the circuit in 5. Don Breitenbach in number 5 is in 6th position, or was, in 7th place. He slipped back to 7th. He spun there yesterday. He's very quickly underway again. He was in 7th when he went, and we'll give you his position as he comes past the pits.
I just caught Breitenbach. He locked a brake and spun it at that point. Now this is this is Stephen Fraser, who's come back onto the circuit. He came into the pits, back on, but obviously something else has happened.
He was the one that seemed to run into major problems on the straight. A lot of smoke from the car, and he's pulled up a long way back in the field, actually, on a very modest budget. In fact, he's been involved in making his own engine parts, Stephen Fraser. So that's Johnny Walker, who's been deposed from second position back to third. That all happened on the 41st lap. He'd held second position from starting in 5th position at the outside of the second row. And look at Schuppen now, having a crack at Warrick Brown. It's 1.5 seconds, 0.8 of a second made up by Schuppen, and the pressure is on Warrick Brown with 47 completed. Brown, he had this sort of pressure last weekend. He had it to a certain extent from Schuppen, but then he had it from McRae. he had it and finally yielded to it from Costanzo. And then only 3 laps from the end, he saw Costanzo's engine blow when he was in the lead, and he regained the lead and won the event at Sandown. He won the series in 77, he won it in 75, and he's off back to America later this year, as is also Vern Schuppen, for a major crack in the Can-Am series of races. What a great finish to an excellent race here at Adelaide International Raceway. 48 laps completed now by Warrick Brown in first, Schuppen in second, Johnny Walker in third, Allison coming up to complete his 48th, 2 to go. And first and second place there, you can see McCraham in fifth, John Goss in sixth. So, with this lap completed, just about 5 kilometres, 4.8 kilometres to the finish. Schuppen ranging inside him there. He's got a lot of steam up his sleeve.
And there's some slow traffic in front of Brown, so this is going to be very interesting indeed whether he can hold that for the last couple of laps.
Schuppen blowing 2 engines last weekend at Sandown suddenly has the opportunity of really pulling out the major prize money, $28,000 on each race, $8,000 for first, $5,000 for second, so he has real incentive. He's on $3,000 extra to get past Warrick Brown, but that's not what it's about in the professional sphere of racing, which is what concerns both Brown and Schuppen. They make their living from it. Your living comes, and the size of your living comes from how well you go. And there's Schuppen. Slipping past Peter Edwards as he chases Brown. He was doing well there to get past him and not to let him slip in. And there's Peter Middleton in the way. And they both get past him. This is hectic. Onto the bowl. The reverse corner, and now coming up to the bowl. Coming up. They're on their last.
I believe
and
John
coming
Goss
up to
has fallen
complete
back a
their
bit.
final lap. This is the second coming up now.
There he is.
So, 1.1 seconds from Warrick Brown in first to Vern Schuppen finishing second in number 11. Johnny Walker third in number 25. Fourth place now to Bruce Allison in 62, a little bit of a way back. Graham McRae will finish fifth in number 22. Well, John Price, a great battle.
Well, Will, I'll leave you and go down and see Brown.
Thank you, John Price. A great battle there. Great last-minute challenge from Vern Schuppen on Warrick Brown. And great